All right, thanks for everyone for joining today's webinar. Today I'll be covering how to extract value from those seemingly cryptic ISE messages, Cisco Identity Services Engine events, and translate them into highly valuable information. So some of you no doubt have worked with this and seen these things. A little bit about me first. My name is Clayton Dukes, as I mentioned, founder and CEO of Logzilla, formerly at Cisco Advanced Services Engineer, uh, and spoke at Cisco Live for about 5 of those years, both here and in Europe. Been in the industry for 20 something years at this point. And really, all of this is to tell you that we've got a lot of heart and soul into this, a lot of know how, having been in your positions and having done this for a very long time. So a little bit about Neo. Logzilla Neo is our patented network event orchestration platform, which allows you to not just ingest logs, traps, webhooks, whatever you want to send into it, but allows you to orchestrate the data and do it in real time. And so three focal points for us, number one, are to listen at scale. And what I mean by scale is to be able to ingest at unheard of paces. So if you look here, you'll see 855,000 events per second. This was done on a single server. If you'd like, you can go to our main website and watch the video of that happening. So it's about speed and ease of use. And in saying that, today's webinar is a really good example of that because we're cognizant of your time. I don't want you to be on a 1 hour webinar. In my days of doing that, I didn't want to be on 1 hour either. So I'm going to keep today's down to, let's say, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. The next part of that is Logzilla Neo allows you to learn, okay? That is pull data in from other sources, enrich that data, even send it downstream to other receivers. Meanwhile, able to deduplicate those events that are going through to downstream receivers. So instead of sending the same 100,000 events, you can send one event. And that saves you money on other SIM tools, other logging tools, things like that. And then finally, the ability to resolve is key. Again, back in my experience, one of my frustrations is getting a bunch of emails every day that telling me that things are broken. In most cases, I knew they were broken, but I didn't have time to fix them. So Logzilla Neo allows you to go to the next step and actually fix those things. Okay, so we're going to focus on the learn part. Now, if you look on the left side, there's are standard messages that come in from Cisco ISE. We're going to take that and translate it into basically what's in Cisco's documentation so that you're not having to go find out what's in the documentation. Of course, this is just a screenshot. The list is much longer. And what it allows you to do is actually step through uh, the process that that user or that system took to get either authenticated or not authenticated or whatever the message is that comes in. Okay. And so the first question that, when I see something like this is, why did they do it? I can only assume a couple of things. One is technologically, you're limited to, at least in standard syslog protocol 1K of data, so they can't send all that. And the other might be a database storage concern or process on their end to store it locally, where it's a lot faster to store integer values, and they have some other resource like say a web interface do the lookups instead of um, trying to store that full text in the database. Now, in Logzilla Neo's case, we don't actually have that problem. So you can store up to 65K records for each event in our system. So we think, we look at this and we go, well, is this better? Is it helpful for you to see all of this? No, I still don't want to really look at all that unless I'm troubleshooting. Maybe a user called and said, hey, I know I'm typing the right password, or any number of things. So why don't we take those fields and carve them up into something that's actually useful? And that's where Logzilla Neo shines, right? And so now we have all these pretty key value pairs that we can put in the system, and it's automatically tracked, and you don't have to do any work. And you can see just a simple screenshot here of the classes or failures. We've got endpoint failures. We've got user failures. And even in some cases, when we were testing this, like we would get a message that would say authentication succeeded. But the truth of the matter is, in one of the step values, it was an invalid password, even though it comes in as auth success. That was part of the first step. It was a success and then a failure somewhere else down the line. And that's exactly why this is valuable. Now, if you were trying to troubleshoot this, you would have to get that code out of the step and go look it up and find each one and figure out why it's actually a failure. So how did we do this, right? I'm going to take you through some screenshots of how we did this. But here's the thing, we've already done it for you, so it's going to be nice and easy. So the first thing was to rewrite this events as they come in, right? We needed to fix all the poorly tagged key value pairs. Now, in the case of some of the events coming in, they would have, key equals value, or some of them would have some value would have spaces in it with no quotes, which you can't really split key values with a space. Some would have a comma, some had a backslash, some even had a question mark. So we just cleaned all of these up through a rewrite rule, and then took out of the documentation. You can see down at the bottom here, there's over 2,000 of these. So it's basically if step equals 3,000, then set it to the radius accounting class and give the description as well. Okay, so that's as they enter the system. But then we want to extract that data into something more useful, right? We don't want a bunch of logs just coming in with a whole bunch of things that I got to read through 4 pages of stuff. That's not useful to me yet, right? So in Logzilla Neo, you can create a rule. These are simple JSON-based rules, and you can see here that we're just going to have a rewrite rule that says we're going to match on the program Cisco ISE, which they all come in as CISE something, right? And that's the category. So it might be authentication or some other category, right? And so the next thing we do is create a tag for these interesting classes, those things that you saw on the dashboard. Now, here's the interesting thing. This is just about the entire rule. There's a couple rules at the bottom, and that's the end of it. You don't really notice any regular expression here. The only regex is to get the ICE category out of the program name, but these aren't patterns. You don't have to write patterns. With Logzilla Neo, key value pairs are automatically detected. So I don't have to go through and say, some long, confusing pattern that, I may be good at writing regex, you may not. So we don't have to do it. We know these things are in the system. We're just going to grab them out and off we go. And that automatically puts them into what we call a user tag, which then allows you to just pluck it out and put it on the dashboard. Very, very easy, right? Final question is, do I have to do this? Well, no, of course, that wouldn't be very nice of us. We've already put it on GitHub after the webinar today, our nice quick webinar. You can go there and check it out. As you can see, there's an example here and with hints on installing it, okay? So very easy to do. Maybe you can't see that. I think it's on the other share. So with that, I think we're almost at 10 minutes. God, I love that.
Almost, I was going to say, Clayton, so thank you so much, everyone. My voice was a little quiet in the beginning, as Clayton just mentioned. I don't know if this is a good time that I quickly...
I didn't get to finish.
No, go right ahead, Clayton.
I know you weren't able to join, so sorry about that. One last thing. Now we're going to take a look at it, right? So let me go ahead and share that. And where are we here? Okay, so you can see here, these are what the events can. Courtly, can you confirm that you can see my screen, please?
Absolutely. And quickly, before you jumpstart this and get into it, I wanted to make certain for everybody on the line, we will have a brief 5-minute window at the end to review some questions. So as you're going through this, please drop those questions into the chat box and Clayton can address these here in just a few minutes.
Good point. Okay, yeah, so you can see the standard event coming in. Now, I'm also going to share console real quick here. Let's see if I can find that guy. And yeah, okay. Here we go. Let me share him. And you can see I've already got it pasted out. Now, the instructions for this are already in the GitHub where we put the files, but you can see I'm just going to do a wget and I'm going to press enter. So we've already just put it in a shell script. It's going to extract everything. It's going to put it in, create the dashboard, the rules, everything for you. So the entire installation process here, you're looking at, I don't know, what is this, 20 seconds or so. And then we'll go back to our browser and see that it's working. And I'm just going to refresh that guy. And now we get something with a lot more cool things, right? And so I'm going to go over to the main tab. You can see that we've now got an ISE dashboard automatically added from running that script, okay? So now no work on your end, easy, dead simple to do. You're gonna get this dashboard with all of these things already configured for you, right? And you'll notice there's actually a bit more than what was on the screenshot in the slides. Obviously, kind of hard to fit everything in the slideware. Okay, and I think that about wraps it up. We're at 12 minutes.